Houston reports a good deploy to ensure no recontact with the International Space Station. Suitsat's orbit will decay in a few weeks, where it will then enter the Earth's atmosphere and burn up.
This is to Houston. This is Commander Diaz. Do we have any debris close to our trajectory?
Evening, Commander. Negative on that. Clear sailing as far as we can see down here. If there was any cause for alarm, you'd know we'd see it too. Your crew members can keep sleeping tight.
Well, I'm seeing something out there. I can't make it out, but whatever it is, it's getting closer.
Tell you, Commander. We're not getting...
Houston, repeat again. Can't be.
Diaz, copy. Commander Diaz, do you copy?
Houston, you're not gonna believe this. I'm picking up transmissions on the ham radio that sound identical to the Suitsat experiment. And that debris, it's an Orlan spacesuit.
I'm not sure I'm hearing you right. Repeat that, Commander?
Suitsat. I'm saying Suitsat.
You're mistaken, Diaz. Suitsat re-entered the atmosphere and burned up years ago. It's impossible.
Yeah, I know it's impossible,
But I know what I'm saying. It's Suitsat. It's come back. And it's not just in orbit. It's headed right for the ISS. Commander, you're not making any sense. Say that again? Commander. Man, you need to try and...
Up here, the sky is black. Up here, the sky is black. Up here, the sky is black.
I need to alert the crew.
Diaz. 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 Commander Diaz, do you copy? Diaz.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inside Unreal, a weekly show where we learn, explore, and celebrate everything unreal. It is spooky season, and today I am your host, still Tina, but maybe a little spookier than usual. Today we're going to be going over a really awesome, horrifying super scary, probably gonna get wrecked by it a couple times game. The Axis Unseen, built here by the wonderful Nathan Perkapile. So I'm gonna go ahead and go down and we'll chat with our guests. And there is an S there, notably. But first, hey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. So I've been making games for like 20 years now, but this is my first actual just indie game that, yeah, it took about 3.5 years to make, built using Unreal 5 and big open world heavy metal horror game where you hunt monsters from folklore. And it's out now, so I'm excited to see what you think of it.
Yes, me too. I'm also very excited. It is out. Yes, we do have the links available as well. We'll link those in the chat for anyone who enjoys it and wants to go try it out for themselves. And then our other guest for today, we have our local our resident spooky ghost who has decided to grace us with their presence. So spooky ghost. Oh.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Dan Hutnick, otherwise known as a haunting Eidolon, always there, rarely seen. And I am haunting the background and making sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible for the night. So, back to the void.
Back to the void with you. Yes, thank you.
Ooh.
For anyone who's unfamiliar, Dan is the one, our man behind the curtain.
Quite
No pun
literally.
intended, but
Quite
also
literally.
quite literal. And he's gonna hang out with us today while we play through this game to enjoy me getting spooked senseless by the game today. So we're gonna be tackling it a little bit different than we do our shows typically. Instead of pulling open the engine, because we've actually done that with Nate previously on the Axis Unseen, and we'll go ahead and link some of those previous shows below in the chat if you're curious on seeing some of the really behind the scenes, actually going into the editor, pulling it open that way sort of stuff. But today, in celebration of the spooky season and also just the release of this wonderful, amazing game, we're just gonna play it. We're gonna sit down, we're gonna actually play through it. And by we, I mean me, because I'm gonna be the one playing it, which means bear with me for this.
Fine.
It'll be great.
Um, per-
Kind of lost your voice there for a second, Tina.
No.
I think I got mad from the laughing.
Hold on.
Hello? Oh,
Hello?
there
Did I
you
come
go.
back?
There you are.
Yes.
Listen, it's in theme with the spooky season, you know. It's just things going in and out, as things do with the void. I'll have to be careful with my laughter then if it we're peaking the mic. But yeah, so we're gonna be playing through. If you have questions while we're playing about anything that you see, creatures or ammo types or the world at large, anything that you might think of, still feel free to throw that in chat and we'll kind of answer them as we go. So it's a little different than usual, but it should be fun. Let's all buckle in. It's going to be great. First and foremost, before we dive in though, I do want to take a second to actually play the trailer for the game. So in case you haven't seen it before, you can kind of get a little bit of context for what you're in for soon. Let's go and do that. Let's roll the tapes. So that's what it is, everybody. What we're in for. Before we get started, is there anything you might want to say just about the game at large before we get in there, Nate? Just want to give you the floor.
I mean, it's just been really fun to watch all the people streaming and playing it since it's, heavy metal horror. So get some pretty big reactions sometimes. So looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Awesome. Me too. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna do great. All right, we can go ahead and pull up the screen now for the game. And first and foremost, I'm making a decision, and it may be a bad one, but that's okay because we're doing it anyway. Where you all get to decide what level of difficulty I'm playing the game at. So these are our options. We have casual, easy, normal, hard. I will say we're not going to do insta-kill or permadeath because obviously I am not the greatest gamer of all time, and I want to make sure that we can actually play the game to some extent. So, but yeah, go ahead right now, take some time, throw it in the chat. What level of difficulty should we do here? I'm seeing a couple people having pity on me and saying normal, which I appreciate. We'll give it just a couple more seconds, but I think we might actually get to play normal, which is...
Really? That is not how I expected this to go.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah, people might know Tina. They either know the game too well or they know Tina too well.
What? Yeah, both. It does say recommended for most players, so... Someone said passive.
Even more explicit in one of the recent patches. Like, no, seriously, it's way more creatures. Not just like a little. It's like almost double.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
Double between normal and hard?
Yeah. Well, I think it's 8 more. It's like 12 to 20. That can get a bit nutty.
Yeah, sounds like. Is that for all creatures across the board, or just a few? Oh, nice.
It's random spawns too, so you never know what's gonna happen. Some person's like, I was surrounded by 3 tree golems and everything was on fire. Like, well, that's what you signed up for.
You did click hard.
Do we get 8 times the bosses too? Do the fight 8 in one arena?
I mean, it's random, so you never know.
All right. Well, looks like we're gonna go with normal.
Set to music.
Thanks, everyone.
Cut and move you at certain points in the song. If you're easily overwhelmed or have trouble reading fast, this intro may not be for you. All of the tutorials show up again in the main game, so if you miss anything, it is okay. However, if the idea of a metal intro sounds great to you, you should play it. Would you like to play the intro?
Absolutely.
I don't know if you got to voice that, but it was pretty. Sounds like a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, I heard it was the coolest voice actor in town.
Did a great job. I feel very assured that it is okay.
Yeah, so there's a little pre-tutorial before the rest of the intro, but the rest of it is essentially a playable music video.
That's really cool.
Right.
When was that something you wanted to do always, or did that come like in development where you're just like, oh, this would be a cool idea?
No, it's like super early. I have like this little notebook with my initial design document. It's like the 3rd line in there. It's basically like, hunting monsters and then like heavy metal. Even the exact song that I use is right there on the 3rd line.
I love that.
Okay. I mean, this is beautiful. The atmosphere to start with is already horrifying, so thanks for that.
You ready?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready. Ephemeral ghost.
I should have started as just normal me, and then when I got jump scared, just turned into the ghost.
Cross. I have a feeling we're gonna need that. The chat is noticing that there's some ghost deception happening.
That's just Tyler.
I'm already paranoid.
So you mentioned that you've been watching other streamers and stuff like this? Have you been getting largely the reactions you were hoping for?
Oh yeah, lots of people getting punched by Bigfoot, being like, "Oh god."
Here we go.
And fun fact, that's me and my wife. I scanned us with our
Really?
phones. Yeah. So she had to like strike a yoga pose there while I scanned her with my phone.
So fun. Are those your bones?
Yes, I scanned my bones and then put them back.
That's dedication.
Yeah. I don't think I would have done that.
Well, you couldn't. You're a ghost. You don't have those.
That's actually the second time my wife has been a corpse in a video game I've worked on also, because in Point Lookout for Fallout 3, there's like a quest line where there's like a dead Chinese spy, and so I put her in there, asked her what her like spy code name would be.
What is it?
Iron Claw Dragon.
Hell yeah.
That's a good one.
To make sure you know how to shoot now, right?
Yes. Oh!
Well, I feel like this game is lulling me into a false sense of security because right now this is very pleasant. It's beautiful,
Wait for it.
got nice music, it's slow, a lot of dying. And you are allowed to roast Tina Day. I give you permission.
It's inevitable, honestly. R, huh? Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you
Can't wait
have
to
pay
slowly
attention to how
watch
you
all my
smell.
arrows go in. Yeah. There's so many little details that went into all the different mechanics of the game that I'm really excited to explore. I don't know if you want to elaborate on any of them, not in a way that'll necessarily spoil anything for people,
Sure.
but if there's stuff that they might not know about right away.
Yeah, because it is closer to like an immersive sim than just a shooter or anything. Like the creatures will follow your footprints, and different surfaces make different amounts of sound. Like I mentioned, the smell system, so you have to pay attention to the wind. But eventually you can get that stuff too, where you can like see the scent particles and sniff out the creatures basically. That's part of why I stylized the game this way, because I wanted it to look both more distinct, but also like it really matters what you're walking on, and if you're tracking things, it's really hard if it's photorealistic. Plus with Nanite, I can make it look super detailed, and it's not just, you know, the regular like low poly indie thing. It's high poly indie thing.
Right.
Is that the first mark?
Yep.
Well, I don't think I'm gonna get there in time right now, but soon. I will select the bloodlust, don't worry.
It's just minding its own business.
Until it's not. And then we'll see what happens. You to heal. Oh. Wait a second.
It's just thunder.
Hold on. Loud noises.
I wasn't going to admit this, but in the tech check, when I was working with Tina, she accidentally shot an arrow very early on, and it startled me. It sounded fierce. And I'm like, I'm dropping the arrows already.
The arrows that fly back to you. I constantly see people get like scared by that. It's kind of like
Oh, yeah, 'cause they're
Thor's
really
hammer,
slippery.
but your arrow, yeah.
Oh, it's mad. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Take it back.
I really like this slow build to the music too, like just adding layers as it goes on.
Yeah, it's always been one of my favorite songs by that band, Isis, actually. I was super happy to get Clifford from the band to do the rest of the soundtrack too, so that's super happy with how that worked out.
Oh.
I want to savor the intro, but I definitely have a few questions about that process as we go through.
For sure.
Okay,
Pretty good
I'm
so
not gonna lie, that slow-mo made me feel a little bit like a god for a second.
It's very fine too.
Oh, well, you got it.
Oh, okay. The turtle usually gives people more problems. Has that big shell or no?
Oh. Uh-oh.
Things could escalate.
Yes. What? What is that face? What was that?
Don't mind, creepy owl guy. Some people worried, they're like, oh, are you worried the intro's gonna like spoil stuff later in the game? But there's like 30 different creatures, so there's plenty more to see. There's not really more spoiled here than a trailer, honestly.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh! I don't like it here.
Some people call that one the Flesh Forest region.
Oh, that is so metal. A flesh forest. Yo.
My initial code name for it was the Blood Ocean, because it has lots of like aquatic themes to it, but it's not literally an ocean. Also a little bit of a nod to Death Clock, if you're any Death Clock fans out there.
Wow.
I don't know if you have a number or if there's any that you would even want to talk about, but how many Easter eggs and references and things like that have you tucked away in this massive world of yours?
There's some.
Some.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Oh. Oh, 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 oh. Okay.
Everything's on fire.
Why am I a better shot with the bow than the knife? No, 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 no.
The knife is like pure panic mode.
Good lord.
Yeah, Sasquatch likes to yeet people for sure.
Also likes to close the gap quite quickly, apparently.
Yeah, the AI type on that one is labeled as unstoppable. Like it will just keep coming.
Unstoppable. That's horrifying. No!
So what is the iteration process on this tutorial like? I mean, it seems like you have quite a few scenes that you're going between.
Yeah, it changed a lot because initially I had like totally different flow, like two characters cutting back and forth, but I've played it probably like easily 500 times.
Yeah. Well, that's always the thing that's hard to do too, right? Because like you know this game more intimately than anyone ever could. So there's a lot of things that you might just, I don't want to say take for granted, but you have the knowledge, so you don't know what you don't know, basically, or what they don't know.
Yeah, that's part of why I took it to like some live shows and stuff, so I could have, you know, literally hundreds of people play it and see how it goes and like what are they not noticing and not picking up on. Because some people are like, oh, this is like super overwhelming and it's too much for me. But everybody that I watched who played it eventually, like was actually doing the right things and like fighting the monsters and using the dagger and shooting the bow just fine. So it's like, I think there's something to be said for like learning under pressure instead of like this drawn out tutorial where it's like, oh, here's how you look up. You know, pretty sure people buying a weird indie horror game probably know how to look up in a shooter at this point.
You say that. Watch me test. Watch me test your understanding.
Yeah, I saw some pretty sick headshots.
Almost all of those were accidents, and I don't know what happened. Honestly, I blacked out. Where am I?
Now the proper game begins.
That is so cool.
The Skyrim grandma actually just streamed this too, and that was hilarious to watch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, look at that big skeleton," and she like was taking screenshots. Like so wholesome.
I love it.
Oh. Oh.
Oh.
I told you those arrows scare people.
Oh, it's the arrow. Fear. I just have fear in my heart. Alright, I've got 3 arrows.
I love the visual design in this game.
Thanks. I wanted
So
as
cool.
immersive and exaggerated as possible. You know, all the UI on the bow and the hands, and giant landmarks so you're not pulling up the map every 5 seconds. You know, that snake is 2 or 3 miles tall. I don't know how long it is, probably like 20 miles long or something.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I'm assuming that had to be the most fun of this project, right? Is just going crazy with the visuals and...
Yeah, and I can just do whatever I want. Like, yes, I'm going to put a giant serpent wrapped around a mountain. Why not?
I want to.
Let me ask my boss. Do I want to do that? I do want to do that. Okay.
Approved.
Yes, 10 out of 10. Did you have any of those like pre-planned where you knew, for example, yes, I absolutely want a giant serpent around a mountain, or was it really just you did what felt right while building it out?
That was line 4 in his document.
I mean, there is other stuff that references that. I just didn't have those there initially. I have like other statues of like the snake and eagle that you see, but then I was like, I want more giant landmarks. What could I do? And I was like, oh, I should actually put them in there and like have their giant corpses, and you can see them from all over, and it'll help orient the player. Like, who needs a compass when you have giant skeletons everywhere? Like, there's another one past those trees too, and you have a special arrow type called the spirit arrow where you can like scout ahead and you can like shoot it up in the air and like look around. You can even leave your own little marker on like where to go. You like click when you're in that.
I hear
Oh.
something.
Oh, yeah.
No! No!
This one knows. It knows what you did to the other one.
I know. It felt oh no. What happened to all my cool headshots? I've lost my power.
Well,
It's
headshot
actually
on that one is not a good
It's
thing.
bad.
It has pure bone for its face, so they actually bounce off.
That's good to consider.
And unlike the Sasquatch, that one is the timid AI archetype, so they run away with your arrows, and you have to track them down.
Great, I've got one.
Or you can just keep going. Like, they're pretty fast, so there's
Now,
a
as
gate
far
right
as-
there you can restock.
Yeah, as far as mechanics goes, is it like you have a set amount of arrows and that's it? Or is there crafting or...
So you don't craft when you're out and about. If you actually go through that portal there, you'll see you have sort of a safe area, which I call like the lodge, where you can like restock your arrows, see what creatures you've hunted so far. And that's the in-world fast travel happens there too. So you unlock those portals as you travel, and then you can just walk through them.
And
So
as
again,
far as...
you don't have to pull up a map.
Yeah, and now as far as goal of the game goes, is it just fill the trophy log? Is there like a story per se, or...
So it does have an ending. Eventually, if you get to the top of that big mountain, you'll get out of this world, and most of the story is told through like journals of other people that came to this place. So you'll find stories from like other hunters or people who got trapped here, all sorts of different things.
Oh, really cool. Oh, there you go.
Ephemeral Eidolon, or no, Haunting Eidolon? I don't remember.
Yes.
Mostly Apparition. There's
All of the
something
above.
about maybe the game playing
Yeah.
for anyone else as well.
I just turned it down a little bit. Let us know how that sounds, folks. If it's too quiet or too much, trying to monitor it so that way we can savor all of the beautiful sound and music, but hopefully not drawing out the commentary too much.
That's where the journals that you collect go there. So instead of it being like a progress bar that fills up, everything is within this space. So you'll see
Are
the
those-
scrolls start to show up there.
Are those teeth?
Awesome.
I think
Are
it's
they
a
vertebrae?
knuckle bone, actually.
Oh, that makes sense.
Oh.
Why? How do you keep track of your stuff?
I don't know if that means I need to like
Basically advocates,
reevaluate
right?
what I think teeth look like.
Knuckle teeth?
I haven't had bones in so long, guys. I forget what they look like.
Yeah, and this is where you level up your stats. So you collect energy from the creatures and then spend it here to level up your core stats. But then there's also separate like magic powers and sense powers that you can find out in the world, and better equipment.
And what was the process like for doing things like equipment and powers and stuff? And like, I'm sure you had a loose idea of what you were going to do when you first started, but then that evolves. And how do you stop from putting too much and adding like a million things and overlayering?
Yeah, I did change it a little bit over time, but most of it was decided in the first few months. But the big thing that I added that didn't exist, well, it's two things actually. Like the melee wasn't in there at first, but then it was like, it's kind of frustrating if something's like right in your face to have to draw the bow back, so I added melee. And then I also added the whole magic system because I wanted more ways to deal with the creatures. Like you can do a really far dodge jump in this game because they're big and they're fast, but I wanted more things like summoning that rock to divert the enemies and all these other powers that you can get to manage them, because I wanted it to be not just like, oh, now you get the rocket launcher and can do a bunch more damage, but more interesting powers than that to mess with the playing and just, yeah, deal with big creatures in interesting ways.
And you said there's something like 30 some creatures more?
Yeah, it's like 30 unique types, but then if you count the variants, it's like 72.
Wow. And how fun was balance with that? Because I might be misremembering, but I think I saw at least 5 difficulties. So you're talking 70-some variants with 5 mutations of, I'm assuming, health and aggro and all of that stuff. What was that process like?
It's been rolling playtests for a long time, so yeah, it takes a lot of tweaking to get like the perception levels of creatures and everything and the health just right. And you always need outside people too, because like I can headshot a Bigfoot no problem. So it's good to get fresh eyes on that. Yeah, and this whole area will fill up too. Like those pedestals you see there, those will be filled with creatures, but that's just for one of the regions, right? So a whole new wing will open up in this place as you explore. You can get kind of an idea of like how big they are in just this region by how big those pedestals are.
Wait a second.
Yeah, some of them get very, very big. Some people are like, why'd you do a game that's like 5 times as big as Skyrim? It's like, they're not small. Like, that one is, I don't know, 8 stories tall.
Right.
It's cool, you got a bow. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Well, I think that's one of the things that it appears you're leaning into with this game, which is like playing with scale and really making these imposing environments, at least, and looks like creatures possibly too. I think that's cool with a first-person game because that just really sells the scale even more. Like, I remember playing Shadow of the Colossus forever ago, and I'm like, these things are so massive, but I'm still viewing it from this like drawn-back view. I can't even imagine what that looks like if you're just in the eye of the character.
Yeah, I think it's really fitting for like the heavy metal aesthetic and everything to do that too, because a lot of games do have like human-sized creatures, but I wanted just sort of an inherently over-the-top game. And there's a lot of like genres to horror too, right? Because like some people are like, oh, it's not really scary per se, but someone used a term that I've kind of liked too, where they called it like a terror game. It's closer to like Resident Evil and stuff, where like crazy intense stuff happens. But you're not like, oh, I'm so scared and I just have a lighter and I'm crawling through a sewer or something.
Right, well, you're not. Folks find different things scary too, right?
That's
like,
true.
I know some people who don't get spooked by supernatural stuff, but a slasher will get them really bad because they're like, well, that's a real person, that could happen to me, sort of thing, or based off their view. So.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was one of the journals that you found too. So I don't recommend reading it while you're out and about unless you like werewolves eating your face while you read, which is not how I like to read.
Cool.
I'm not gonna lie, there was a part of me that really wanted Tina to like sit down by the campfire and narrate that.
So I thought about it. I'm flipping through them. I'm trying to leave enough time where people can go back and pause to read if they want. But make sure that we can still.
Or better yet, pick up the game and you'll have.
Okay, that was a good loud noise.
So I want everything to have like a reaction like that. Like even though that's good, I like the surprise of it, and it's like spooky supernatural forces, right? You're upgrading this altar that gives you free arrows, right?
Right. Oh,
You know-
Ooh.
arrow! No! Ooh, okay. See, yeah, these are good.
And what was the process like for basically UI and tooltips and things like that? Because it is, I mean, just looking at the bow, it seems like you really wanted to lean very diegetic with everything, but
Yeah.
it's also very hard to diegetically say you increased your health pool or something like that. So, what was the balance with that, or how did that go?
Yeah, initially I didn't have any of that stuff. I was like, it's gonna have no UI at all. But at some point you do reach a barrier where some people are just never
Oh
gonna
my
pick
God.
that up. Oh boy.
You got this.
Don't forget to heal.
That little deer thing, I think, went and got a friend. Is what it looks like right there.
Yeah, they tend to kind of come in packs because the spawns are a little bit clustered, but also like if you did something to attract one, the other ones probably heard it also. Like walking on rocks in particular, you notice the sound meter on your bow going up pretty high, and if you're crouched, it makes less noise also. But I wanted to support both playstyles. Like you can play this game essentially like an action game. It is a lot harder, but you can. Or you can be like the sneaky stealth archer.
I like that little element so that you know where your arrows are.
Yeah, I added that actually pretty recently because some people were having trouble finding it. Even though it has like a light on the bow or on the arrow, if it's in the sun or something, it can be really hard. So I have like a light particle, but also a dark particle there. So basically, you should always be able to see it, and it's not like a certain color because that wouldn't work either. Because I use like all the colors in this game. At least one color would not work somewhere. So I think it works pretty well now.
Yeah, well, that's just a general game design thing that you have to consider. Like, when you have very high detail, I don't want to use the word noisy, but kind of noisy environments, you have to find ways to make items stand out, and sometimes them just existing isn't enough.
I want to know how much fun you had building out the different mushrooms, because I'm having fun looking at that.
Those ones are actually from Megascans, actually. So that's where I got a lot of like the rocks and things like that. But then I did a lot of like the sculptures and the creatures, and then I had to place all of it too.
And I know this is something that we went through a bit more in the previous stream you were on, but for those who maybe haven't seen it or want a refresher, I mean, you clearly leaned very heavy into nanite with this one. Is that something you knew you wanted to do from the beginning? Did you have any hang-ups or anything that you weren't expecting? Things that were benefits that you didn't, maybe expect initially?
No, that was definitely like part of why I picked Unreal, because I thought I could make something that looked at like really, really high fidelity, and it's ironically easier to make it this way. I'm like not worrying about the poly count all the time. Of all the things, actually, nanite is extremely performant, and like this game runs even on the Steam Deck at like 30 to 50 FPS. Shadows and lighting can be more of an issue, and you have to scale those back a little bit, but you really don't have to scale nanite much at all, which is shocking when each piece of dirt is like a million polys, and there's like 100,000 on screen or something. So it's all the polys. So it's super cool to me that it works.
And you mentioned Megascans there. Did you primarily rely on things like Megascans and things like that? How much? I mean, clearly some of the stuff was custom, but like how much would you say it was, gathered assets versus like custom built stuff?
I'd say it's a mix. It's like anything that would make sense to make custom, like my weird trees or the custom sculptures and the creatures, all that stuff. But like no one's buying my game for a rock, right? Like rocks are kind of a solved problem. Would be wasteful to be spending much time sculpting the like 10 millionth video game rock. So that was kind of how I approached it. Like it's smart to make a game that way. Like when people make a movie, they're not like inventing rocks and fire, but that's totally how some games are made sometimes. Like I remember when we had to make like forks and stuff on Fallout. It's like, man, that is super boring having to make such like mundane stuff sometimes.
Over and over, yeah.
Yeah.
But I also like the style because, you know, you have pulled like a mega scan rock, but unless you're like extraordinarily familiar with the silhouette, this doesn't look like a mega scan rock. Like you have your own style on it too. So
yeah, that was part of why I did that, is because I thought there was going to be probably a lot of games that are just like straight photorealistic, just using the mega scans as is. So it's like, well, I can make it look more distinct. I can make it play better by making it easier to tell what you're on. And then I don't have to do textures on everything else too. I can just do high poly sculpts in VR and then throw them straight in the game and not optimize them really at all. The most I ever did was like, nah, I don't want it to be 20 million polys. How about 2? Like, single tier. Like,
I can see
Single tier.
I can see
Should
Tina
we-
contemplating the misty
Yeah.
abyss down there.
Should we go to the Misty Abyss or should we go to the Sparkles? I want opinion.
We're playing on normal, right? So we got to have a little pain. Let's go to the misty
It's a
abyss.
choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
What do you think, chat? If you don't want me to go to the Misty Abyss, you have about 30 seconds before it's too late. Uh-oh.
Oh.
It might be too late
Oh
anyway.
no! Oh no! Oh no!
Comment
Coming
second.
from everywhere.
No!
Joke's on you. The misty abyss is actually a safe haven. This was a trap.
Uh-oh. This is bad. This is bad, everybody.
Nice.
Oro.
Stab, stab, stab.
Oh, come on, eh.
Stop.
What even?
Pretty well. A lot of them.
There is a lot of them. Don't worry, everybody, I'm a pro.
No, I honestly, I'm quite impressed.
Yeah, that was what, like 5 of them? No,
Yeah.
my cat was about to attack my computer.
Oh no!
Oh! Double kill. Uh-oh.
Wow.
You made the earth mad.
Maybe watch out for the rocks, and you can make it to a safe spot. or maybe not.
Or maybe not, yeah.
Oh!
Oh! No!
I
Oh
hit
my
the
god.
replay button.
I need to put in like a commentator mode where it's like, boom, headshot.
I don't know. There's green mushrooms. I feel like this is gonna be bad for me.
Poison?
One way to find
Poison?
out.
I'm already low health. No!
Oh, yeah.
I knew it.
Never
I knew
mess
it.
with forest mushrooms.
That was
What
for
is
the
that?
pursuit of knowledge.
It's fine.
What is
Oh,
that?
what is the sound design right now is doing? Hold on, I'll turn this up for a little bit for a second, folks. Hold on.
Okay, so I'm seeing what one of those big podiums might have been for.
It's
Oh no! Oh!
Oh boy.
All right, I'm gonna. You know what?
through the particles.
You know what? We're going to the Sparkles. We're going to the Sparkles, everybody.
And there's a whole heart rate system too, so you can see the ring on your hand starts to glow with time. Oh no, oh no! You're pretty close to the safe point.
Listen, that still went fairly well. Like,
Yeah.
I think even with full health, that thing would have been hard to fight.
Don't forget to restock. And it's kind of like a Souls game, right? All that energy you collected has dropped where you died now. So if you can get back to where you were, you can get all that back. But if you
And
die,
does
it'll
it
go
work
away.
like? Yeah, okay.
But you can lock it in when you get to a gate, though. So once you get all the way there to another one, it'll basically be safe forever.
I didn't have my magic shoes. That's what they're saying. This is true.
And you don't have to memorize where it was, by the way. If you look up, you'll see another beam. There's the green one, but then there's the blue one there next to it that's smaller. That's where you died.
All right. We have a mission, everybody. Why is that bleeding already? Wait a second. This seems bad. Yet I'm approaching it anyway.
Like every horror movie. Don't go there. I'll go there. Oh.
I am the one
Nice.
who dies first in the movie, for sure. You know what sounds like a great idea right now, actually? I think we should split up.
Definitely. Nothing ever goes wrong.
No, we'll cover more ground.
And definitely don't listen to what the creepy guy at the gas station said.
He's not some strange plot armored prophet, for sure.
Do you think we should listen to this keep out sign?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think it's just there so that we don't have fun.
And it is open, so you can go whichever way you want to it. Like, it's slightly more constrained in the start of the game, but it opens up more and more and more as you get further.
Now, do you like split this up into zones where like only certain enemies spawn in this area or anything like that? Because I mean, I don't feel like Tina went that far out, and we were already seeing big tree guys. So
it is like weighted, so I tend to start with like the easier ones at first, and then as you get further into the region, the bigger ones can then spawn. And then also, it's like usually just that region's creatures mostly, but there's like a small chance like some of the ones from previous regions could show up as you get later into the game.
Oh,
Look at that thing out there.
wow. I would like to. Give me just a second. No! No, stop it. Give me my arrow back. Wait, no.
You scared it away.
Wait, no. Wait, no. No!
Oh man, look at that mountain over there.
Yeah, right?
And you're really close to a
feel like-
gate too.
I really feel like I should go get my energy before.
That's probably a good idea. Don't want to lose it.
Is that another tree guy?
So do you know the rough scale of the map? Because this is proving to be much larger than I originally anticipated. Like,
Yeah, I think it's around 8.5 kilometers on each axis.
wow. And how difficult was that to manage as a solo dev?
I mean, a lot of people are surprised when I say that, but honestly, like, since this is my 6th open world game, that part was not the hardest to manage. Like, there's a few technical hiccups here and there, and like that I had to sort out, setting up the nav mesh and everything just right. But actually making a big landscape was not the hard part with the game, actually.
And how
What
much
would
of that
you say was the hard part?
Oh, sorry.
The hard part is like systems and combat tuning and all of that, because that takes a lot more iteration versus I can do a bunch of art and place things really fast. Like, that was not a problem, and the tools made it really easy where I could just essentially paint where trees are and things like that, but then have manual control of it, right? It's not a procedural game. Like, I did the initial terrain setup and ran erosion simulations, but then placed all the rocks and trees all by hand.
Wow, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're going the aggro style.
Absolutely.
And is
Okay.
that your preferred way, Nate? Just
I alternate, actually, because I like to test both. So one time I'll go full Doom guy mode, the other time I'll do stealthy. I think it's important to like sort of try and method test as much as possible and try and at least pretend your other play styles.
Yeah. Just at least for the sake of being able to test, right? And see what feels good.
There's the third archetype too, you know, the person who tries to break everything. Like, I'm just gonna totally ignore where I'm supposed to go and try and jump over all these cliffs. Like,
I'm raising my ghostly hand.
Yeah, so this is your first power that you got now. So essentially the tattoo on your hand will light up whenever something is moving nearby. And like if it's cool blue, it's small. Warmer and warmer, it's bigger.
Interesting.
And the weather is also finely tuned also, so it like is always sunny when you start the game, but then it's more and more likely to have bad weather later.
I really enjoy the like obsidian obelisks sort of things going on everywhere.
Yeah, I wanted everything to have like this culty, primitive feel to it. And
All
that's
right,
the tattoo, by the way.
That seems to be trying to tell me something.
Something is nearby, yeah.
Oh.
And it might be a little hard to hear on the stream, but there's a sound that triggers when it's going to. And I use this audio trick called a shepherd tone, where there's this, it sounds like it's always raising in pitch forever. So it like creates this sense of tension.
Yeah, I'm also really enjoying the music. Like there's a bunch of different, like, I don't call them tracks, but like different sounds and like that when you were doing that before fighting the creature there, had nice like guitar and everything, and this is more of like an ambient thing.
Yeah.
What was? I know. I mean, it's a heavy metal game, so clearly music was a big factor of it. What was the process of that? Like, how much iteration did you have to go back and forth between the composer and making sure that it's fitting, you know, all the different ranges of emotion and stuff you were having in the game?
I think it went incredibly smooth, actually. Most of the tracks were done with like one or two small changes, because I essentially gave Clifford a list of moods and places, and he like knocked it out of the park. And very few of them took that long. But then I also got all of the individual instrument tracks so that I could do stuff like this, where it's playing like part of the track.
Ooh. You got long reach. Oh, wow. Okay. We learned something. Don't mess with that guy.
Yeah, they are dangerous.
Shouldn't just stand there.
Oh yeah, and you can change your voice and like skin color and stuff at any time too. Because not everyone wants to die in here. Ugh.
Yeah. And roughly how many tracks did you end up with once all was said and done?
I want to say it's 32 tracks maybe. It's 90 minutes worth of music, not including the intro track.
And was weaving all those layers in and out and linking them to certain mechanics with gameplay and all that, was that fairly straightforward, or was that a real trial and error troubleshooting?
It's fairly time consuming, because you have lots of different competing events and stuff of like, oh, it wants to control it based on like the time of day and what is going on with the combat, but also special events that happen, and what happens if you go through a portal, what happens if you just got a power but then went through the portal, so you need to like always fall back to the correct track. So I wrote the system myself, but it did take a fair amount to make sure nothing weird would happen. There's also like legendary creatures too that can like trigger their own set of music when you're near them.
I really like the shockwave that the lightning can inflict. Very imposing.
Yeah, I was really happy once I added that, because it was just raining at first, but then I added that, and so watching people at live shows with that was hilarious, because they'd be like, ah!
I think it's easier, Tina. Oh.
Nice.
That is always satisfying.
I do lots of tricks with that besides just this time slowing too, where there's, you know, the camera shake and the controller vibration, time slowing, but I also make like the blood particles are bigger if it's far away, is at first it was like a little bit hard to see the blood if they're really, really far off, so I tweak things like that based on distance.
And there's a full day-night cycle, right? So this can get pretty dark.
Yeah, it can get pretty dark. Eventually you can get some better ways to manage that, but your spirit arrow also acts as a light source that they can't see. So you can't just scout with it, you can also like use it as a flashlight basically.
And is there anything stopping you from just starting the game and trying to solo the the top of that mountain? Or
I mean, it's a pretty sheer cliffs, so it would be pretty difficult, but people have started speed running the game already. And I think the best time I've seen is like an hour and a half so far, speed running it.
Wow.
Like normally it's like 20-ish hours for people, way more if you're a completionist, but I think there's going to be some interesting ways to sequence break it. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets even shorter than that.
Now, is that something that you like encourage as a dev, or is that something you're just like, oh man, I don't really want that with this?
I think it's fine, because people have fun doing that, and it's like a very systems-heavy game, and letting those interactions happen is part of the fun. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if someone finds out a way to get like 5 Sasquatches to punch them at once or something and get to the top of the mountain. Like, sure, if you really want to figure out a way to do that, I'm not gonna like cap the velocity of the player or anything.
I love that personally. Like, I think as long as it's not like a super simple exploit that like anybody can accidentally stumble on and it's ruining their experience, I can see that being something that you'd want to address. But some of my favorite times is going into a game and being, all right, cool, how do I break this?
Yeah, because I think there is a difference between like systems interacting in cool ways and like a bug or something like that where it's like, no, I should actually fix that.
Yeah.
You duped me.
Like there was a bug once that I accidentally fixed where somehow like the fire arrow could hit your journal and push the journal and rocket you up into the sky. Like I had to fix it because it was breaking other things. Like you would somehow accidentally shoot your book sometimes and your arrow wouldn't go there. But yeah, that one was an accident. It was legit throw you miles in the sky. It was kind of hilarious.
And do you just have a log of clips of like all your different bugs and things
yeah,
that
a lot of it is in like the private testing Discord that we have.
I really like the atmosphere.
Thanks. It's nice controlling all of the weather and music myself. Like I wrote the whole weather system too, and like control different curves for the fog and the lighting and the sun position, and like dawn and dusk are longer than the middle of the day. You know,
I feel like
it's not just the golden hour; it's a little bit longer.
I feel like I need to ask Tina a question now. Tina, is that one shot as satisfying as it looks? Because that looks very satisfying.
It's pretty satisfying. Can you hear me, first of all? Because I saw a comment saying you couldn't.
Yeah, it's... Okay. I don't know if it's just like an automatic gain on your microphone that you have right now or something, but when you laugh too hard, it seems to chew you up for a little bit until it levels back out.
No joy. No joy is allowed for me.
You're not allowed to have fun.
This is spooky season. We can't have fun in spooky season. That's not how this works. But yes, it is... Honestly, it's that little addition of just like that couple extra seconds of slow-mo really does make it feel like such a moment of absolute satisfaction. It is incomparable. Can you get hit by freaking lightning just walking around? Or am I safe from that and I'm just imagining things?
Not yet is my answer.
Great.
I am still also working on actively making the game better and like patching things, and then I have my list of things that I want to like start adding.
Right.
But I don't want that to just be like a purely punishing thing. So if I'm going to do that, I want to make it so you can make sure the creatures get hit by lightning also.
I feel like that would be such a devious thing to make like an arrow variant that is just like a solid metal rod, and you're just like, I've turned you into a conduit.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I like the little ricochet on that. And does that arrow continue on and now it's way further and oh, I love that.
Yeah, eventually it'll break if it keeps hitting hard things, but if it hits something soft, it would stick into it. But I did make them extra bouncy, because at first they would just break whenever they hit something hard, but I was like, you know what? Occasionally you'll get like this accidental trick shot, and that's more interesting.
This is so stunning. Just with the dark fog and everything. Oh my god. There's been so many parts of the game so far where I am actively in danger and it doesn't matter because I just want to stand there for a second and appreciate.
I wanted to make a horror game that also had just like striking visuals, not just another like Rusty Factory type thing.
Right.
Well, you've done a good job so far.
Thanks.
Oh. I don't want to talk about it, okay? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want anybody else to talk about it. It didn't happen.
Might want to go to the gate behind you before more monsters come.
Maybe so. Maybe so. I'll grab that journal in a second.
And I really like the feedback loop that you get with that slow-mo, because when you pull off a really cool shot, you get that, effect. And so when you make your shot and that doesn't happen, that only reinforces the fact you're like, oh, next time I really want to get that one shot and be rewarded with the beautiful slow-mo.
I think it's incredibly important to like just really fine-tune stuff like that with combat to make it feel right. And there's all sorts of like subtle things where if it was about to hit them, I slightly curve the path of the arrow towards them. Not to overdo it and like make it straight up auto aim, but there's a thing about good controls in games where it's like player intention is what matters. Like good platformers, if you almost made a jump onto a thing, if you caught the edge of it, they won't just have you hit it and fall. Like they'll lift you up onto there.
Yeah, and that kind of design is everywhere in games that you love. And some people, like, when they find that out, they go, oh, that's kind of cheap. Like, I don't like that it's like playing the game for me. And it's like, well, you say that, but if it was missing, you'd probably be more frustrated than you realize.
Exactly. And then I think you can also tune the game to basically even slightly harder because of that, because you're allowing for these more intense situations. And like, there's like a GDC talk that the Dead Cells guys gave on all the ways that they do this stuff. And like that game gets very intense also, but it needs all those tricks for like that intense action to work.
Yeah. And they really are like such small details that have such a big effect.
Yeah, it all adds up to a game that feels like it plays smooth. Like people might not necessarily understand why a platformer or an action game can feel bad, but like if you take those things out, it starts to feel not right. Yeah, so this is giving you the tip now how to use your spirit arrow as a flashlight.
Oh. Oh.
And this is the one where if you shoot it, it's not going to hurt enemies at all, but you can look through it.
And that is not a subtle light. Like you got some vision with that thing.
Yeah, I made it go pretty far because it's a very big and open game.
I personally appreciate that because nothing's more frustrating to me than it's like, all right, here's a flashlight, and it's like a candle.
Yeah.
Like, it really didn't help me that much.
And I made it not work quite like a normal light with the curve of the fall off too. Like it goes pretty far, but then it kind of just stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you still get that really intense ambiance further in the distance. Like hearing giant footsteps come approaching somewhere in the darkness.
And you're not going to be able to shoot your regular bow this way too, so that's only so useful.
There is so much about the sound design that I love. I think right now those footsteps in the distance are my favorite. Like that is, you nailed that.
Thanks. They all have their own like attenuation curves and way that it changes the volume based on if you're facing something or if things are in the way, and how much they all echo. So there's all these different ways it's handled, and it even interfaces with that heartbeat system too, where if you're like start sprinting a bunch, certain sounds will drop out or get muffled if you're sprinting.
And then with those sort of sound effects, is that like you have different audio files for each of those effects, or are you throwing like EQ on there and doing that kind of dynamically as stuff goes on?
They have different audio classes, so it'll be like this is for creatures that are large, and this is for their footsteps or arrows, so it's all in just like these buckets that I can control that way. And that's the same way I can also put them in buckets for like don't play too many of the same sound at once so it doesn't go nuts and like start blowing out your speakers.
Yeah.
Like fire, for instance, if there's like 200 fires around you, you need to balance the sound in a way where that's not going to break everything.
I don't know what that was above you, Tina, but it looks wild. What is... Oh. You're circling. Okay.
Yeah, that's one way to find locations, is you can see birds circling. Because there's dead bodies, right?
Okay, Tina, this is not the time to admire.
By the way, you are kind of going in a circle.
Leave it. I'm more just running away.
I mean, you found new stuff, so there's plenty of locations to find.
Oh, I want that energy.
And it does get brighter, too, as the moon comes up. So it's like that moment of darkness while the sun's gone and the moon is gone, but then as the moon comes up, I want you to be able to see, because I don't want you just stuck in darkness like forever. That's not fun. Some games do that where it's like pitch black at night forever. It's like, it's not actually that hard to see at night when the moon is out.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's always like another thing that's a challenge, right? Because some people... Oh, what was that? Oh, no, Tina.
This might end poorly.
Running time.
Midnight squatch fight. The guy that did the journal drawings, he actually did a drawing of the Sasquatch recently, and it was like punching the player flying off, and he called it a Yeetie. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, that's really good. Oh no, he's throwing into a bunch of different enemies now.
Listen.
Things are
I may be a coward, but I'm running away.
Oh no. He is fast.
Oh, he is deceptively fast.
Yeah.
He closes the gap.
Those big long legs, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you really like wanted to or had the ability to, could you climb on that big old skeleton out there, or is that...
Yeah, they have collision, and you even get more and more powers to traverse in interesting ways, I'll say.
Love it. Also, Tina, you are
out of arrows.
Really surviving, though.
Yeah, you're alive.
Yes.
Now, is there an easy way to know, like, where to go to go back to that place where you can resupply, or is it you just kind of have to know?
Those ones do have little lights over them that you can see even through the fog, but if there's stuff in the way, it can be harder. But ultimately, your goal is to get to the next power, which is the other big green beam in the sky, which is behind you right now. There. Yeah, so it's like around that mountain ridge. That's like your ultimate goal. There's lots of smaller gates in between.
You got no arrows and hurt health, Tina. You can do it.
I think restocking is a good idea. And then you can fast travel back to that further portal also.
The sound design does a lot of heavy lifting for the atmosphere here.
It's a spooky game. You gotta focus on the sound a lot. And obviously sound design was not my job before, but I always did care a lot about it.
So because of that, was that a pretty difficult challenge to do, or did you go like, well, I know a lot of what I want, I just need to find the way of getting there?
Yeah, I had a lot of goals in mind and have, like when I went to GDC and stuff, I would always go to not just art talks, even though that was my job. I would go to sound talks and AI talks and everything. So I've always been interested in like all aspects of game design versus, you know, some people really like hyper focus on their one discipline, but that was never really how I approached games or what I cared about. So I think that, you know, it's inevitable that I was going to be a solo dev making everything.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to ghostly apparate for a second, and I will be right back.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, and when your hand flares up like that, that's when your power's shut off too. So your heart rate gets so high that your like tremors power and everything else shuts off until you calm down, take a breath.
Calm down. That's interesting.
And that can matter a lot, especially as you get more and more powers. Like there's 8 different sense powers.
Oh no.
Watch out for the mushrooms.
Freaking mushrooms, man. Wow, wow, wow. I just keep looking at the sky and marveling because it is.
Yeah, I always liked auroras and stuff, so I was like, you know what? I'm in this weird land, I can just have permanent auroras. Why not?
Yeah. Why not? So I know you kind of talked about it a little bit previous, but there's a question from chat here where they're curious out of absolutely everything, what do you think was the hardest thing?
I mean, besides systems, the other one I would say is ragdolls actually are incredibly difficult to get them to behave. Very finicky. So I'm sure you'll still see them, like, werewolves doing cartwheels and stuff sometimes. But it's also kind of hilarious, so...
I love ragdolls, personally, because of how ridiculous they can end up being. But...
I'll give you a little pro tip, by the way. Since it's like sort of an immersive sim, you can light your arrow on fire. At that fire behind you, if you get close to it. Initially, this only happened when you actually caught on fire yourself too, but now I have an extra buffer so you can, like, you know, just stick the tip in the fire and not take damage. And it doesn't stay on fire forever, but it's useful.
Is the time that it's on fire affected by weather at all, or is it like its own separate thing?
I get asked that a lot about the fire system, and that's one of those things that I had at first, but then I was like, you know what? Often it is pretty rainy in the game, and I turned it off. It was actually kind of annoying to be like having the fire arrows and stuff nerfed all the time.
Mm.
But it does impact how well they can hear you and smell you and all that. So and it depends on how heavy the rain is. Like if it's a more intense storm, it'll cover your scent and make it harder for you to hear and harder for them to see you. It's a little bit more fair that way.
And I assume the type of enemy, you know, is weak or strong against certain things. So
yeah,
I'm assuming Big Tree Man might be less fond of fire than.
Yeah, and it takes literally no damage from your regular arrow. It just goes. Okay.
Whoa! What is that?
That's way bigger than I thought it was gonna be. Oh, it's awesome.
Oh no. Oh no.
That was a power move. Standing like on the wall like that and just staring at you.
I know.
What it was doing.
I'm out of arrows. Great.
If you get close enough to it, do you retrieve them off their body?
Not right now. They have to be dead.
Oh, buffer.
It's okay. That's right. We're in a duel of melee.
Bring a knife to a horn fight.
You're really close to another arrow type, I'll say, though.
He kicks you from behind.
Yeah, they can attack in all directions.
No.
Devious.
No. I'm determined.
It might be a trick of the light considering it's so dark, but is that skeleton made of like obsidian? Because he certainly looks like it.
Yeah, there are certain skeletons and things that are made out of obsidian in the game, since obsidian is like historically important for like magical rituals and things.
Yeah.
And your dagger is obsidian too. It's a human jawbone with an obsidian blade.
So cool.
have a feeling something else.
That you're not dead yet.
Yeah, this is
So determined.
Blood everywhere.
Take this thing down.
Oh, wow.
wow. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh. Almost nobody takes that down first try. I usually come back to it, to be honest. Like, I'm gonna come back with more arrows.
Take the arrow in the fire.
Oh no. Oh,
you're going real far. Is there any sort of like passive health regeneration at all, like up to a certain point, or is it just?
There is not. But yeah, as you find those little like upgrade obsidian skeletons, you can get more and more healing crosses. And as you upgrade the health stat too, you'll like do that animation to sacrifice that cross faster to heal quicker.
Oh, so might there have been a cross there? Tina might have been able to grab.
There was something else that was really close by.
I'll get there.
Well, the big one is dead. That one was a legendary creature, so those ones only show up once.
Oh wow!
Really?
Yeah, like that was the extra huge one.
And do they drop anything special, or is it just like a larger energy drop?
Yeah, it's much more energy, and then you know that unlocks its own statue and journal entry in the safe area.
Oh, I got to read this one from chat. I'm gonna modify it slightly though, because I think that's what was meant to be said. It was a Fusro Dasquatch.
Yeah, they definitely toss you. Like some people have seen that and they're like, oh, is that like on accident that it throws you so far? It's like, no, that's to make like this intense moment where you're like flying through the air and you like see if you can get a headshot in the air, or once you get powers to manage that and get down safely. Like it's 100% an intentional thing.
Yeah. Or to just know that this is the end and
right.
have the time to
like,
come to terms with it.
Like, no, I'm falling. It's like this really fun moment that would, and also, frankly, it would just keep beating the crap out of you if it didn't throw you so it can help. Like, it will sometimes punch you to safety.
And how brutal is the fall damage in this? Can you go pretty far without?
It's pretty lenient, I would say, and as you increase your strength stat, it'll be even less. So it's not that bad, but it will matter. Like, you can't just go jump off a cliff and be fine.
Yeah, as we saw by Tina being one shot and being thrown halfway down a mountain.
They also actually punch you with the angle too. So if you're downhill from them, instead of them punching you up in the air, right, because then you would fall extra far, it'll actually punch you sort of downwards. So you'll go with it, because it's basically a lot more fair that way. Because it would, before I did that, they would like punch you into a hill, or the fall damage would be way too much. But this keeps it consistent and a lot easier to tune that way.
And then mechanically, is that like linked to the normal angle of the surface you're on, or how do you calculate that?
It's between where they are and where you are, because I did initially have the normal of what you're on, but then sometimes you'd be like on, just like the ground would be tilted slightly a different way, and it was not consistent enough that way. So it needed to be based on the positioning of them versus you for it to be more fair. That said, it will break down in some cases, like if there's a just immediate drop off right past where you are, like I don't necessarily know that.
Yeah. That's gotta be important, Tina.
It's gotta be. Actually, no, I don't think this looks important at all.
I really hope that it's just a letter that says hi.
That is part of why I added that big skeleton pointing at it, though, because some people would actually miss this thing. I mean, it's like,
well,
not subtle, but
yeah. You mean the giant pylon with the fire on it?
Permanently burning fires.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. There it is.
Oh, so you can shoot through flames too.
Yeah, that works too. All those drawings are done like by hand on real paper and stuff too. Like I have all of them here. These weren't done by me. They were done by this person called like Overshia, who did like a bestiary for Fallout 76 that I really liked. So I had them do all the drawings. That I called reverse concept art because I made the creatures first and then he did the drawings.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask about that because there was like so much detail in. I don't want to call it watercolor, but that's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah, it is.
And I was like,
Yeah,
doing that
brush
digitally
notes.
could not be easy. So
Yeah, because I wanted it to have that, handmade feel. So like, that's actual brushes and watercolor and stuff.
that is so cool.
I think we even used a kind of
Maybe
coffee
that's
for
like-
some of the stains.
It's surprisingly effective.
And the fire spreads based on the wind direction and stuff too.
Oh.
And you can eventually harness the wind to make walls of fire on purpose.
And I assume it's terrain specific, right? Like sheer rock won't really burn much, but grass will.
That's another thing I actually turned off because I had it do that, but then fire wasn't as useful and it wasn't as fun. You couldn't make fire or walls as effectively, so at some point I just turned that back off. So I think it's fun to. I think fun matters more than realism at a certain point.
Yeah. Tina and I had a stream, I don't know, a while back where we were talking about like level design and environment art and stuff like that. And I think it's an important lesson for a lot of designers, who are getting into this to learn, which is like it's got to be fun before it's real.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So like you can forego realism in a lot of ways that maybe in isolation seems like a mistake, but makes a lot of sense in the game in terms of just making it fun or traversable or anything like that.
Yeah, it's the whole argument of like it matters more to be like authentic to the experience than it is to be realistic. Like there's a distinction there, and you can get like the tone and the general thing you're going for, but you don't have to be completely tied into how it would actually work. That's really works against you if you go too far into that.
100%.
Unless it's like a very specific thing, like if you're doing a military sim or whatever, that's different. But this is, I don't know what you've seen in your life, but this is not a real thing to me.
Really?
I don't know. You're a ghost, man. You tell me.
I was gonna say this is on my plane. This is pretty par for the course.
Every day.
It's actually kind of nicer.
Trip to the grocery store.
Yeah.
I have that pacifist mode in here actually, where you can take the pictures of the creatures and they don't attack you, and it's like some people have called it cozy horror. I think there's something there.
I love that. And I like that like you've gone out of your way to enable those sorts of play styles. Like in a lot of games it's like somebody doing a pacifist run in a Souls game. Like it's not meant to be like that. But I like that you lean into that and let people have an experience that they want.
Right? Why not, right? Like a lot of games that just lock you into that one mode, but like I had a photo mode already. It's like, why not spend just a little bit of time to just like turn off the combat and unlock things in a different way? Like it's not a huge burden on me, and then some people who might not even like horror games might pick it up and play it that way, and I think that's totally worth it.
100%.
You can see all your statuary is starting to fill out now with all the different variants and the powers that you've gotten.
What? Does this imply that this guy has variants?
Yep.
Great. Cool. Wait a second. Did I kill one of these?
I don't think so.
I must have. Just with this one of my stray arrows that ricocheted.
Maybe if one of the fires ended up somewhere that it was at.
Maybe I did when all the firewalls started going around. I was feeling footsteps, so.
That could have been what happened. One thing I did have to turn off though is I had to turn off fall damage unlocking stuff that way, because occasionally one would like off screen accidentally jump off a cliff or something. And I'm like, I never killed that one. What happened? And that's when I finally tracked it down to, because I couldn't figure it out for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just create like a kill log just as a debug tool. Like, how did I?
That's exactly what it was. And then one time it's like, Sasquatch just died from fall damage. I'm like, you what now? What were you doing, dude?
He's trying to climb the serpent. Oh, it's so cool.
And this is like where the demo normally ends, so then it goes into the full game past here.
Ooh, okay.
And is that all that really was in terms for the demo? Is you just basically created a play space and then just blocked the player from going beyond?
Yeah, I just had like invisible walls to stop the player. Because it's really hard in an open world game to just cordon it off, right? I'm not going to put like a chain link fence everywhere. But it is sort of designed in a way where it's like that top part of the forest region is the intro to the game, and then you can see this big valley now below you. Starts to open up even more.
Whoa. That is... I want to screenshot that and put it as like my background. That is amazing.
Is there a put away bow button?
Not right now, but there is the photo mode, and you can like put it in a free camera where then there's no more bow on the screen, so you can take pictures that way.
And how free is the camera?
It's pretty free. Like initially it was like kind of constrained to pretty close to the player, but I let you move pretty far now. Just not so far that you like get past where stuff is loaded.
Right. Yeah, I love when photo modes give you that sort of freedom. Like some of them can be so tied down that they become clunky and you don't even really like using them.
I even want to put in a time of day slider, but I haven't gotten around to it just yet. But that'll probably come in a future patch.
That'd be really cool.
And I placed all those fog banks by hand and stuff too. I think it's important to like have those like layers of separation and help sell the sense of scale too. Like when you're up on a mountain, you see like the banks of clouds and stuff. Occasionally I get like a TikTok comment or something like, oh, it's foggy, I'm not gonna get it. I think it's like people who played like Turok back in the day think fog is like to cover up something from rendering distances or something, but that's totally not an issue at all. It's purely to like sell the sense of scale. It's not covering up anything. It's all there.
And it is effective. Like, I just think it's beautiful.
Thanks.
Was that something that you had to really tweak to get the look that you wanted, or? Yeah,
every single fog piece that's in there, separate from like the environment fog of just like general aerial perspective. Each piece that I placed of those little cloud cards and stuff, I tune how intense it is and like how it's impacted by the time of day.
Oh, intercepted.
There's a new creature there now, by the way, for anyone who hasn't noticed.
I love that it is just on fire and does not care. Like, it is burning and couldn't care less.
The fun thing about that one, which is hard to tell when you're in the middle of a Sasquatch fight, but that one only moves when you move.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh. Yeah, you're...
So it'll just stand there completely still if you're stopped.
And then was that challenging to balance, because you were a ranged character mostly, right? So if you don't move and it doesn't move and you can just keep firing into it.
Well, can you hurt it though? It was just on fire and it didn't care, right? And it's made out of pure bone. You're not really gonna like lead it out, right? So
I love that.
That's part of it. I want all these different like behaviors and ways to approach creatures. Like I described it to someone in my Discord last night as like kind of like a Metroidvania, but with monster murder. Like you don't necessarily have the tools to take down everything right away.
Oh, going for it. Earning the kill.
I am. I want to earn the kill. Ow!
And considering that so many of these different creatures can have such varied ways of needing to be engaged and different properties and things like that, have you had any trouble with players being like, I don't understand, I can't kill this thing, I don't know how to do it, it's just frustrating? Like, has that been a hard thing to balance?
I think some people say that, but I think the vast majority of people sort of pick up on it because, like, the game features key art of like the tree golem on fire, right? But you don't start with the fire arrow. So most people will be like, well, obviously I need to find the fire. Like, they'll try a few times, often, but then give up. I think it's just kind of like part of the inherent structure of the game and part of what makes it scarier. Like, if you could just always murder everything right away, there's less interest there, and you can only do so much as like a game designer that way.
Yeah.
Well, and it also incentivizes the like the exploration, right? You're like, well, I don't have the tool now, but certainly there's got to be something here that I can use.
Exactly.
I just need to find it.
And often those are not like that thing that only moves when you do, right? It's not sprinting at you and like constantly killing you. Like, you can get away from that. It's like not that hard. It's not faster than you. So it's not going to be like as oppressive on the player in that way. It's just like this thing you have to be aware of, like, well, if I'm fighting these other creatures, I need to keep in mind that this thing will keep coming to me. So don't just run around in a circle in one spot. It'll get to you, right? But if you keep moving away from it, you'll lose it.
Just look how good that looks. Oh my god, it's so pretty.
I know, right?
And I think this is a really good example of this kind of thing where I think a lot of people think like, oh, to make a pretty looking game it has to be like as realistic as possible. And this is so not that, and yet I think it's stunning. Like,
yeah, I think color and lighting can go a long ways, and
yeah. And just the depth, like, I know that's what fog sells, but it's really selling in here. Like, this world is massive.
And that's a really, really fine balance, too, with, like, how exactly does the fog fall off. Because it can be really easy to overdo it and make it hard to navigate, but then that's why, like, the green beam shows up through the fog at all times, because at first it didn't, right? And then it's like, well, now where do I go? But this way I can, like, keep it atmospheric, but then you don't just completely lose your bearings.
Mm-hmm.
And each weather also lasts a different amount of time, right? So it will occasionally get super foggy, but the super, super foggy ones, that's a lot shorter than the nice weather. And less likely to occur as well.
And I really love how you have all of these structures. Like, that thing that Tina's heading towards is massive. And if you have a bunch of structures like that, it can be kind of difficult in terms of designing the world because you just see them all, but you've played so much with the verticality of the world itself that this giant thing could be hidden just around the corner, and you have to explore to see it. It's not just like, oh, there's that giant thing, I'm gonna go there and find it.
Yeah, I laid out all of the locations really early on in the map too, to just like control all the different sight lines so that certain things would be revealed over time. Because you don't want it to, I mean, you could do an open world that game where you can just see everything all at once, but I think it's more interesting to like crest the ridge and then like, oh, what's that thing there?
Yeah.
Like, it is in structure closer to like Elden Ring and stuff than Zelda or something where you can just pick a random direction. It is like, you can sequence break it, but it is designed.
And is that something that you knew from the get-go? You're like, I'm gonna need some extreme verticality in terms of the world design to build this out the way that I wanted to? Or was it you were building the world out and then you start adding these giant, you know, structures and creatures and things like that, and you're just like, I need ways to break up these sight lines?
I think I knew I wanted to do that early on because I've designed a fair number of open world maps at this point. Like, I was the one that helped lay out the whole 76 map and like the whole ridge line separating that map in half. Not only is that kind of based loosely on the actual geography of the state, but it was for a purpose too, where there would be a big reveal as you crested the big mountain range and then see like all those other regions that I haven't even seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you have magic.
Now you can fight
That's
the tree with your own pillar.
I can also just harden my skin, which is nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Did you notice how you can crush things with that? So like the further you fall, if you turn into rock before you hit. It's like a big boulder smashing into the ground, and you can crush creatures.
Oh my gosh.
So that you can use that against them, right? Like they throw you up in the air and like, okay, coming right back down at you.
All right then. Yeah. That's awesome.
I love that kind of game design where it's like just systems driven and you can really play with it, and if you're clever you can do stuff like that and lean into it.
Yeah, I think that's a lot more interesting. That stone skin thing is exactly what I meant about, like, that's why you don't just get a fireball, right? You already have ways to cause damage, so this is something else. Because it lets you deal with getting all that falling damage and damage enemies in interesting ways.
Yeah. And I know you've been talking about like the balance of like what's realistic and what's fun. Being in a body of water like this, if you're on fire, does that put you out? If the enemy's on fire, does that put them out in something like this? Or is it still mostly aesthetic?
It's mostly aesthetic. I thought about doing that, but it doesn't occur that often too.
Right.
I am imagining how absolutely horrifying that would be, though, when it's dark and foggy.
Yeah, you made it to a brand new day.
No.
Ooh,
this
headshot.
will become Tina's nemesis.
Yes.
Come on, one more headshot.
Oh, we have magic now.
Oh,
I guess I should have just waited. I would have had the answer to the question. What is that?
That's the rock that you can summon. It goes wherever you're pointed, and you can hold the button down to like sort of preview it too.
You actually got him!
You got him!
Now I just got buddies. I probably didn't have to do the fire arrow at him.
No, that was definitely necessary.
One thing I like to do with the fire arrow, if there's like a tree golem, is you only have a few, right? But what you can do is you can just like make a fire on the ground next to you, and then use that to let your regular arrows on fire. So it's like 3 fire arrows.
Oh.
Make your own campfire.
It definitely rewards clever gameplay, which is, I do not die like this. I refuse.
No, I was actually going to say, I admire this thing's chutzpah. Like, it watched you just take down, like, giant things, and it's like, I got her. I got this.
It almost did, though.
Yeah, you gotta stay on your toes.
You just have to have confidence.
Just gotta have confidence. Wise words from our haunting Eidolon.
Yeah. I've come back from the dead to bestow knowledge and idioms.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to reach for that one. I don't know how that ended up there. Video games.
Pretty mad hops. Oh no! Come on, Tina. I could do this.
Actually, just made the collision of those better in the next patch too.
Where is it? Right there.
Did you get it?
I don't. Where'd it?
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
you
I
slid.
think I did.
Okay.
Oh, you did
Nice.
get it.
Yeah, you did
I
get it.
didn't get it.
Nice work.
All it takes is a little tenacity.
Exactly. You just need confidence. See?
I know I'm technically wandering away from the green light, which is my ultimate goal. I will get there. There's just so many little landmarks that you've put in here that I want to explore.
I mean, that's open world design, right? It's like in the Fallout games, you're like, I'm gonna go rescue my dad. Oh, what's that distraction over there?
Don't worry, I'll get there. Hold on a second. You'll be okay in the meantime.
I do not envy the job of designers and things like that, because as a story-driven campaign, you know, you want stakes and things like that, but it's not necessarily congruent with fun open world exploring.
Yeah, I think it's nice to just let people enjoy the game too. That's why, like, most people, like, I love the original Fallout, but like the timer in it is not great. You know, you're supposed to beat the game in a certain amount of time, and narratively it makes sense, but maybe one of those, again, less fun things if it's realistic.
And that's such a tough balance, because some people like the pressure, But even with those that do, like, there's a range where it's like, well, I want a little bit of pressure, but not so much, and I want much more pressure and not as little. And like, how you can appeal to all those different kinds of players is virtually impossible.
Well, I think that's why, in my opinion, it's best to have like soft consequences and ways to deal with it, where like things can happen, it can go poorly, but then maybe you can recover from that stuff. Like the Hitman games. I really like those games, and it's possible to recover if things go wrong, versus other games you play where there's like instant fail stealth missions. Like as soon as you're detected, you fail. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a game dev crime and should just never happen. It's never good.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's a few games I can think of that have issues like that.
I think you might have run into a bug I'm trying to track down where there's an arrow circling you forever.
Oh.
That's what that little sound is.
I was wondering.
It should go away if you go through a gate.
Okay. We'll find a gate. I was wondering, I was like, what is Nate? What is happening?
It used to happen, like, very reliably when you would be, like, full on arrows, but one would fly back to you, but it couldn't go in your quiver because it was full, right? So it would just keep circling you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably something like that I just need to track it down.
And as just a purely hypothetical thing, like, what would be a potential solution you would consider to a bug like that? Just an arrow can only be in the air for so long, and after a certain timer, it just...
Yeah, it just despawns. That's it might have.
It might... Oh.
Or it hit something. Yeah, I think that is it.
You knocked it loose? You're gonna
All
lose?
right.
Good.
You're not gonna get it?
No.
Open world games are hard. That arrow is cursed.
That was a power move.
Yeah, listen. I don't need that arrow.
One thing about those arrows too is they always path to you. It doesn't just fly in a straight line because you're moving, right? It would just miss. So when that used to happen, the arrow would like be circling you, and you could actually sort of abuse it and have like this tornado of arrows, and it would hit creatures.
Oh, Tina, looks
How many
like you're
arrows? I
close.
have 2. I know,
Well,
I'm getting there.
It's 2 in the quiver plus the 1 on the bow.
Okay,
If
okay.
only you
So I
had
can...
a third arrow that was recently
I see a gate.
nearby.
I see a gate.
This is
No,
part of the
okay.
design too, is to make a run for it for the gate. Which obviously attracts a lot of creatures, but you know, you gotta get to the gate.
Yeah. Sometimes
As
you
long
gotta
as
do it.
it's
You
not
gotta
the
do it.
Sasquatch.
I've had a
can't
Sasquatch
believe
punch
I-
me through the gate before. I'm like, thanks, dude. I was trying to get away, so thanks.
Appreciate it.
I imagine
No.
you have quite a bit of energy now after all those.
Probably.
Yeah. Whenever you can level up too, you get a little icon on your bow, the horned god. Like you'll see it, that little tiny blue one. So
Probably.
it kind of lets you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right. Yes.
I like the nice change in instrumentation and everything in here when you're in your safe spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some more reinforcement.
I wanted kind of like that vibe you get in like the typewriter rooms in the Resident Evil games, where it's like this nice break from the chaos.
Yes.
More health is never a bad thing. I need to go look at the Sasquatch and revel in my victory.
I had a buddy who would actually, whenever he would go on like a smoke break, he would take his phone out and play the save music, just as a way of resetting at work. I'm like, hey, listen, man, whatever works.
Yeah. It'd be good to have routine and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that guy's cool.
He was cool, but he's
That tree
also
golem,
a
by the way, is like
jerk.
pure nanite geometry. So all the other creatures are like regular geometry and not as detailed. But then with rigid stuff, I was able to go full nanite. So it's like a 20 million polygon character or whatever.
That is insane.
Such a cool design.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm happy with how that one turned out, and it made sense to me to have a tree golem be that way instead of a lot of them that you see if you look up various concept art and stuff. They're like really chunky. Like, trees are often very skinny and very tall. That's actually part of how it can blend in, and like it sneaks up on people a surprising amount of times as it blends in with the trees.
And is that a behavior that creature might have, where we've seen it moving around and stuff like that? Is there a variant that just sits in a forest waiting for you to approach to startle you?
Yeah, actually, if you're sneaking more and they're not as aware of you, that they will stand there far more than other creatures, because most of the other ones kind of like path around a little bit randomly, but the tree ones will just be still, so you just hear like the creaking of the trees. You're like, where is that coming from?
Yeah, I can imagine that being quite startling. It's dark and you're wandering through a forest and you're like, I don't see anything, I think I'm okay, and then the tree moves and you're like, oh no.
And I have different distances for all the different kinds of perception too, right? So it's like they can see you a certain distance if you're standing versus crouched, and your footprints, that's its own distance. So I think it's important to tune those all differently, because you don't want them to just like spot your footprints from like a mile away.
Right. Man, the scale is just so cool.
Yeah, and that is one of the regions, so you do end up on that mountain.
Oh, yes.
And then you were devious enough to put a Sasquatch up there, right? So it could launch you right off the...
There are its own interesting creatures up there, I will say. Oh, that's a fun trick. There's one that I made the sound for it using this thing. It's called an Aztec death whistle. So, here you go.
Oh, here we go. Oh, man. Oh! Yeah, that's about
Horrifying.
as apt of a name I could think of.
Yeah, the first time I heard that thing, I was like, oh, I definitely need to get one of those and use it for a monster.
I feel like
Backs
you need to
right
go
off.
into a park at night and just...
Oh, that would be amazing.
No.
Search your dominance demon.
I don't think it's seen me yet. It's definitely gonna see me soon.
Ooh.
Well, I think it knows now. It's on fire.
Yeah, you either
That
have
could have
to
been
go
anyone.
from oh.
They also slow down too if you get a good shot like that. Like you hit him in the head for the Sasquatch or other critical points, they'll slow down for a second. It'd be a good way to
Take that
get an
guy.
advantage.
Yeah.
I made my own wetness shader too, where everything is custom controlled for like how the look changes when it rains, because it's different depending on the material.
Right.
And the sounds change too. You might have noticed, instead of it being like regular dirt sounds when it rains, it sounds then like mud. And
Those are like the countless little things that all add up in terms of development, where you don't really think about them until you need to, and then you're like, oh, this doesn't look right because it's supposed to be raining, and now I have to find a way to make a shader that control them all and get that together and make sure that that also links to the sound effects and everything. That's
yeah, it's like a million different decisions. Every single little part of it matters. I actually have this document of what I do every day, and I write it down. I have separate tracking stuff for tasks, but I also write it down just as part of my process. And I think last time I checked, it was 110,000 words right now.
wow. Is it like the first Harry Potter book only like 78,000?
Maybe, yeah.
Something like that?
No idea.
Yeah, it's
You
a really
wrote a
long
novel.
document. It's 3.5 years of work.
Wow.
You end up doing a lot of things. Some were small, some were big. You know,
Right. Okay, the atmosphere here with that thick fog and the skull above it is great. That looks awesome.
I might get an award for the most skulls and skeletons in a game ever. New category. Let's make it happen.
Get my vote.
I'm all for this. I don't think anything important is about to happen.
Ooh, ooh. You got something.
Breathe the poison.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, now you can walk through those mushrooms and other hazards.
Yes.
I like that it tells you the region that it was in, so you can keep track of things easier.
Yeah, I wanted small things like that to help keep track of it, because it also shows up in your safe space.
Oh, I love that music ramp.
I think for the mood for that one, I was like, epic.
Yeah.
Which, hey, I guess that's on brand.
Yeah.
There's a really interesting question from chat here that I wanted to toss your way. But how long did you have the idea for this game before you began development on it?
I didn't start writing ideas down for games until after I quit, and I wrote down a whole bunch of like single sentence ones, and initially I was going to do like a series of prototypes and pick my favorite one. But what I wrote down for this one first was hell hunting. And it shifted from there pretty much immediately to folklore, but it was the idea that I liked the most, and I didn't end up doing any of the other prototypes and just dove straight into this one.
You just knew immediately.
Yeah, it just sounded so compelling to me, and I really enjoyed like hunting games and stuff like the Hunter Call of the Wild, and I had like well over 100 hours in that. But that plus metal and monsters seemed like a obvious game to make that didn't exist yet.
And I think that's the key, right? Like, it's an original idea. Like, you could probably, a couple degrees of separation connect this to something else, but I can't think of another game that is this.
Yeah, I think it's important to have like a little bit of a mix of the two, where you're not going like full weird. Like, there are parts of this that are relatable to people, and people know folklore and have maybe played as hunting games. But yeah, this particular thing isn't. I don't know of anything that is this.
No.
Like, some people might be like, oh, it's like Far Cry Primal. It's like, well, I mean, those are far more action games, and that's like dinosaurs. So this is kind of its own thing.
And that is the closest parallel I could draw, is that it kind of has a feel. Like, it has a game mechanic feel of like a Far Cry Primal, but the world and everything else in it doesn't.
Yeah, and aesthetically there's some similarities there too, where you have like this hand-carved bow and all that. Which I think I might have mentioned this on the last stream. That was one of the things I sculpted in VR, and that's why it looks hand-carved, just because I carved it in VR.
No.
And I correct me if I'm wrong, Tina, but it kind of looks like you were locating them from sound, basically.
Yeah, for some of them.
Which...
Do not.
Good design.
Do not.
Almost got it.
Oh.
One of the testers beat the game doing melee only, which is really hard.
That's intense.
If you look up, you should be able to see where the next power beam is. Somewhere there, yeah.
Whoa.
Surprise!
No.
That was
Not like
mean.
this. Not like this.
It ran through the fires. It reminds me of something I did on the Fallout games once. There was this test cell that everyone loaded into all the time. It was just, supposed to be basically empty so people could get in game as fast as possible. But one time I put a giant gorilla head in there with like sunglasses and all this stuff. Some people thought it was funny, other people were not so happy. They're like, please delete this immediately.
There are so many baddies.
Yeah, you've really kicked the hornet's nest.
That's part of the experience that I wanted too, though, is that it gets all nutty like that, but you get more and more stuff to manage it. So you have like the fire arrows now, and then you get more and more magic powers, but they're always still going to be a threat too.
Right. Yeah, I definitely still feel like I'm in danger.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the Souls thing of like, you still always kind of need to pay attention. You're not going to just like completely wreck everything and they don't do any damage to you. Like they can't hurt you.
I like too though that it appears we're only hour and a half in at this point, that you start pretty limited, but it seems like you can get some pretty, I don't want to say wacky, but like extreme powers. Like the fact you can just summon a giant stone as like one of the first things you get. I can only imagine where this goes as you explore and level up.
Yeah, it keeps escalating for sure. And I would say like the level of pacing for how fast you've unlocked stuff at this point basically continues at that rate throughout the whole game. There is a lot more stuff to find.
And
you saw you could see another thing right now actually if you look around. There was a location. It was like up on that hill. If you look for the glowy thing.
Oh, was it the one that I was just kind of looking at?
Yeah, like the little pyramid thing
right
back there. Yep.
Yeah, alright. I figured that might... Let's go explore that then. That might be a good spot to... What?
Ooh, that's new.
Is that?
That's a problem.
You were wondering if there were variants. Here you go. Got some good shots.
I
on
preferred when I could just think about it though.
Oh man, that little thing regretted that.
That
ran
was
off with your arrows.
probably the most unnecessary fire I've ever done, but it felt right.
And was the power fantasy a design goal, like to really eventually get you feeling pretty strong, but then ultimately face things that are much stronger?
Yeah, I wanted it to be like a power fantasy in the sense where you're always sort of under-equipped in a way, but you have lots of interesting tools to fight with. But that way I can definitely like keep escalating.
Yeah.
Like eventually, not right now, but eventually you come back and you're like, oh, Bigfoot? No problem.
I think Tina's thoroughly looking forward to that moment.
I'm completely out of air.
That's part of why I put in a new game plus too, so you can keep all your stuff, but then restart, and then, kind of just wreck a bunch of Bigfoots.
Nice. Uh-oh. Bone guy.
What?
Bone guy.
Surprise!
He doesn't move though.
So we're just ending the stream here, right? This is...
He's just chilling.
Oh, that is awesome.
I hate that so much.
It's
No.
it's almost like a weeping angel, but like not.
All right, buddy. We're gonna.
He's faster than you though. He may only move when you move, but he moves quicker. Is that a teleporter?
There
Yeah.
it is.
Oh, beautiful.
Made it.
That's absolutely beautiful.
Okay. All right. We've got enough time. I'm gonna get to that like little pyramid thing you were telling me about.
Okay, yeah.
That little bro is not gonna be there when I leave the portal.
Yeah, it does reset
Wearing
the
it?
spawns.
Thank goodness.
That said, someone was playing on normal difficulty and they sent me a screenshot last night and there was 4 of those, which I don't know what the odds of that are, but it's incredibly low. Like, I've never seen that. I've seen 2 at the most. I was like, I'm sorry.
That is genuinely horrifying to think about.
I honestly think that might be one of my favorite designs. Like, not only just in terms of how the creature looks, but also how it acts. That's such a great combo.
Thanks. You know what I hope someone does with it? I hope someone beats the game with like a buddy. They just have it follow them the whole way.
The whole time.
It's
Put
like
in a
that
special achievement. It's like the gnome in Half-Life, right?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Oh. Uh-oh. Look, this is
At least you don't have to worry about the poison anymore.
This is true.
Point.
Oh yeah, you can try placing the spirit arrow marker if you want. So if you shoot that up at the pyramid, you can like click. Yeah, so shoot it and then click wherever you want to put the marker. Like point it down at the ground, and then you might have to point at the ground.
Oh, okay. There he is.
That is, again, I don't want to keep harping on the sound design, but I love looking into nothing but the fog and just hearing and going, okay, what was that? I know that sound. That's got to be linked to this thing.
Yeah, right, like that.
I know it's there, but I can't see it.
Yeah, that's why I think it's really important to play with all those attenuation curves and everything. Especially when there is music and stuff. Like, you have to tweak all the volumes to be readable, and other things can blend more into the background.
Yeah. And did you handle that primarily with just like playing sounds at certain distances, or did you actually go into any EQ and being like, all right, this thing sits in this range and this thing sits in that range, so that way when they play together they're not like fighting?
I didn't go so far as to split them up in the EQ in that way, so it is more about the attenuations and curves and fall off and everything.
But even without it, it reads really well. Like, I asked because it sounds like that. Like, each thing seems like it was fitting in a space.
I suppose I tried to pitch them in a way where I wasn't bashing on things too much. But as a solo dev, I didn't go quite as far as some people probably do.
Well, it sounds like you didn't need to, because, like I said, it sounds great.
Thanks. I think there's also different approaches to sound design too, where a lot of people do like a lot of different sounds, like for creatures and stuff, and that can work well, but I think it's also nice to maybe sometimes not do that, and then there's a certain cue for like, this is the sound it makes when it hears me versus when it sees me, and then in your brain it sort of gets trained in a way to know what those sounds are, like, oh, Bigfoot just saw me. Like, you know what that sound is at some point, even at like an instinctual level.
Yeah. That grass just bend out of the way?
Oh.
Yeah, it bends as you move.
Oh, that's so cool.
I have a buddy. I don't know if you saw it. He's kind of far back, but...
Is it Bone Guy, or is it the...
Yeah, it's Bone Guy.
This is,
Got a bone to pick with you.
This is your chance for that achievement.
Alright, stream's over. Cut it now.
Take him up to the...
Gotta do at least some dad jokes.
Yeah. I mean, they're superior, so it's only fitting.
I like how you were like, creeping. Screw it, run.
At some point.
There is a way up there.
Man, this guy's tired.
That is so cool, though.
It was really fun to pose them all in the environment and get their hands and everything in the exact right spot.
I do also love the implication that this means there were in fact creatures that were this size.
You're right, and then, well, what killed them? How did they die?
Right. Horrifying.
You're gonna use this guy as a ramp.
These are like my skeleton jumping puzzles.
All right, we're on the lower lumbar. Now we're going into the thoracic.
Right, because in a heavy metal game, how do you get up a giant structure? Do you just walk up the stairs? No, you climb up bones.
You climb the corpses of giants.
Honestly, it is metal.
Listen, if I was given that option in real life, that's what I would do. Like, if they showed me a stair or a giant skeleton.
Which one is more metal? Duh.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it sound like something's hunting me?
Something might be below.
Is this guy?
You know, you're playing the Axis Unseen. Something is always hunting you.
This is true. I am always afraid.
It was if you go on the other one behind you, it might be a little easier. Yeah.
Okay. This is where I have to admit, to my shame, that I am absolutely horrible at puzzles, and especially jumping puzzles.
You can just climb up the other arm. That one, yeah.
Okay.
I think I also saw the thing that was
Yeah.
interested in you down there. So just don't slip.
No.
Or slip immediately.
It's on purpose. Okay. It's on purpose.
Yeah, I wanted to kill this thing.
It didn't happen, okay? It did. Take it back. 30 seconds back didn't happen. Man, I'm really excited to try this jumping puzzle for the first time.
I can't wait to watch it.
It's not too hard. You don't actually really have to jump. Most of it you can just kind of use them as stairs. And I'm a little more forgiving with their collisions. So normally you can only walk up like a 45-degree angle, but on these guys you can just like walk up like 60-degree angles, I think it is.
Oh, yeah. I see. What was
yeah.
that?
Oh, it's your friend.
Your buddy's back.
What?
Oh, he decided.
You stop that.
He decided.
You stop that. No.
It's like,
No.
I'm not going to abide by your rules.
Alright. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for his nonsense.
Such a good design. I really want to know what you get once you get to the top of this tower.
One way to find out. So close.
So many things, all clambering for the top.
And if they wanted it, that means you must really want it. Or it's way too big and you can't use it.
A giant's bow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't fall.
Ooh. What did we get?
I don't know.
I see.
It's a bigger quiver!
Yep. And it holds like twice as many as the one before it. Because there's not like tiny upgrades in this game, right? It's all chunky, big stuff like this.
Epic. And there it is. There's that riff that makes me feel like I really just did something great.
Yeah. Don't worry about the monsters at the bottom of the pyramid.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Yeah, something
I
you
think
need
this is
to.
a great place to end it, actually. Alright, I'll see if I can't maybe get back to Portal.
Okay.
We'll give that run a shot, and then was there any? I mean, there's so much to talk about with this game and this project and the development. Is there anything specific that you wanted to touch on, Nate, that we haven't already come up to at this point?
I don't think I mentioned who did the writing, actually. Like, I didn't do a lot of the journals that you find. I got a bunch of different writers to do those. I did the core ones of like how the powers work and the monsters, but then I had told the writers about the world, but then I let them decide what they wanted to write instead, because I thought that was a more interesting approach of like people telling their own stories. And it is like optional lore. Like, you don't have to know this stuff. It's more about world building. But also everyone has their own interpretation of folklore too. So people will come to this world and like tell their stories of what they think is going on, but that doesn't mean they're right. And I think that whole like unreliable narrator thing is really interesting.
There's two!
You have drawn quite a crowd.
Do you see that? There's two! What?
Oh, don't fall. Uh-oh.
Oh.
You're like Simba in the elephant graveyard now.
Oh. Oh no.
That hop is a bug I need to fix, by the way.
Honestly, it's genuinely horrifying.
Yeah, well, because that's kind of like that other thing with horror, right? It's like taking something familiar and making it unfamiliar.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the same sort of thing with that character, where it's just like, you have rules most of the time. Sometimes you don't abide those rules. And I
so what you're saying is I should just leave it.
I think it makes it scarier, because it's like, you're supposed no, you're not supposed to do that. Why are you doing that?
And why is it a jump? You're weird.
No.
Yeah, that's a devious combination because
No.
you have to move to avoid the other enemy.
Right.
But moving draws their ire.
It's kind of like another form of the tree golem, because that's also like pretty slow. Like, and you can keep moving away from it, but it'll keep coming, right? Same thing with these guys. Only more unstoppable.
You got this, Tina. Get the safety.
Oh my god.
You kind of split them up a little bit.
So scary. What? It looks like a print for a second.
They're not scarier than me, though, right?
No.
Okay, thanks.
You're the spookiest ghost.
I'm the spookiest ghost.
And they also draw your attention that way, right? So then you're more likely to get like surprise squatch punched.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking of. I'm gonna get absolutely annihilated.
I also find the design interesting because, I mean, they have the animal head and then the largely human skeleton.
Did you notice what the hands are?
Yeah, except the hands. They're just spines because why not? And
Exactly.
But I love that because it almost has an uncanny feel. You're like, you're so close to being what you're supposed to be.
Yeah, because when I first was doing them, like, oh, I'm gonna put in it like a regular skeleton creature, but then I was like, well, what if it's not just a skeleton? Like, we've seen plenty of just skeletons.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to play on the bone art that's in the game, where there's like all the scrambled up skeletons and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I went the wrong way, buddy.
He doesn't have his normal
Oh yeah, I think you ran in a circle.
I went in just a giant circle.
You know?
Right, you know what? Okay, no, he is mean. He is. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe he wouldn't be, but
It's
he
gonna
is.
be friends.
Yeah.
He may not have the normal forearms, but it's fine.
Oh my god. So we're not lost, we're on an adventure. Exactly.
Hey, you are leading this fine creature to its new, its new domain. Oh man, I love that it just follows you. Like, it has the one focus. It's like, I will get you. And I will chase you to the ends of the earth.
A little bit inspired too by that movie It Follows.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorites.
Oh, I love it. And that's the thing, right? Like, a lot of these concepts aren't like wholly original, but it's a unique spin on all of these different things.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of like everything is inspired by everything else. Like, I think it's important to pay attention to all media, and like you might get some interesting ideas from a movie, a book, or travel, or whatever.
Yeah. I like that it's definitely moving when you don't look at it. Yeah.
Actually, that, without spoiling exactly, I do have a creature that works that way, where if you look away, it starts moving.
I remember the one from the previous time you were here, where you can't see it when you look at it.
Yes, that's another one of my favorites.
That's such a great character design. I love that.
There's another one that teleports if you look at it, so then it'll be somewhere else after that. So you have like a brief moment of time where you can attack it, and then it's gone.
Oh, I can hear it behind you.
I know.
Just don't look.
I see the portal. I see it.
So close, but yet so far. Just run over those noisy rocks, it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's great. Nothing bad is gonna happen to me between here and there. There's truly nothing worse than just listening to it walking right behind you.
Oh,
If I was a giant company with a big marketing budget, I'd like build those things and like put it out in the forest.
Oh, for
And then
people
go
to randomly find.
Yep.
and then go out with your death whistle. Oh, it has a guardian.
No.
Yeah, you made it.
You did it, Tina. Congratulations.
Thank you. And the nice, calm, serene.
It also like resets your heart rate whenever you get here. So often you'll come in and then the player themselves goes,
Yes. I can feel that. I can feel that in my bones, honestly. All right, let's see what we ended up with. I'm still taking credit for it. So we got a Sasquatch. Got this one, which I'm still pretty proud of. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
Taking that down with a knife by the end of it there. What was his name?
Oh wait,
Man, look at that.
one of them died somehow.
What?
I don't.
You can kill them?
I mean, you
Oh.
can, but not normally right away. I gotta figure out what that is. Yeah.
I think Tina's just too powerful.
I'm too good.
Like they know it's inevitable, so they're just jumping
Yep.
to the end.
Yep. They know. They know. All right. Well, that was 2 hours of gameplay of the Axis Unseen, everybody. And it was basically just scratching the very surface of what there is to offer. I mean, I didn't even really get out of the first zone, honestly. And as we saw from the intro, there's tons more of them. So we'll link the links for the game if you're interested in checking it out for yourself. It's available on both Epic Game Store and Steam. I don't know if it's available anywhere else. Is it just those two?
Yeah, it's just those two right now.
Awesome. So we'll link that for y'all in case you're interested in checking it out. I had so much fun. I think I might have taken about 15 years off the total lifespan, which is how I should feel by the end of a spooky game.
Oh, so now you're only gonna live to like 135?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But thank you so much for coming here, Nate, and chatting with us about it, and answered questions and giving us insight on it while we went through, and I got horrified and died horribly.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. Well, any last thing that you would like to tell everybody watching before we wrap up for today?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just like if you like the game, check it out and tell all your friends. Support indie devs.
Yes. Yes, please, please do. And please check this out. It's incredibly well made. I cannot express how much fun I had while playing it. And fear, but also fun fear.
Best of both worlds. That's what horror games are for.
Exactly.
Especially in spooky
and-
season, right?
Yes. This is the time. Enjoy it. If anybody popped into the stream and you missed any part of it earlier, no worries, because we post all of our videos in all of our streams. I messed up the spiel. It's fine. We post all of our streams in video format that can be viewed on demand on both our Twitch and YouTube channel at Unreal Engine. You can also keep up with us in all the latest news, launches, all that kind of stuff on all of our socials at Unreal Engine. And if you're not already, please take the time to go check out the Epic developer community, which is where we have our forums, our documentation, tutorials made by both Epic staff and the community, and really just about anything you could ever need in regards to both the engine and just Epic services at large. So check that out if you haven't already. It's a good time there. I think that's it. I think that's it for today, really. So one last big thank you to Nate and our resident spooky ghost for coming to participate with us today.
And for
can't
wearing that the whole time.
Yeah, I can't emphasize how difficult it is to come back and operate in this way. So I appreciate the acknowledgement of the effort.
Yeah, I mean, you taking the bioplasma or whatever it is required to apparate so that we can see your form today.
I've been saving up for about the last 3 centuries, so.
Wow, worth it?
Of course. Of course it was. Oh
Can't have a stream without the cat.
no, we got a full screen. Oh, never
Oh,
mind.
you want the cat back?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, full screen.
It's pretty
cat.
much like always on my lap. So
Yeah.
There
I
we
have
go.
ghostly animals on the right.
Yeah.
They're sleeping, so I will leave them in their eternal slumber.
All right. Well,
Uh,
oh, you're cutting out again.
yeah, you laughed too hard.
oh,
There,
That's
oh,
back.
there.
there we go. I just have to grumble and then it comes back. But yeah, that's everything for today. Thank y'all so much for coming and hanging out. Happy spooky season to the rest of you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your spooky day. And we'll see y'all for the next Inside Unreal. I can talk, it's fine. Next week. Before we wrap up, we'll go ahead and play the trailer for the game one last time, just in case you came in just at the end here and you want to see it for yourselves. And yeah, we'll see y'all later. Bye, everybody.